Welcome to another shir, another class on Derech Hashem. We are going to enter chapter 4. Before we enter chapter 4, I just want to clarify something that we discussed last time that you might not remember. That we discussed the world of souls. In chapter 3, we talk about that the reward for our perfection occurs in the world to come. That is, we get rewarded based on our actions and thoughts and emotions that occurs in the next world. Why? Because it used to be that the body was able to receive the reward from God, but since Adam sinned in the Garden of Eden, then the body, in order for it to be purified or perfected or completed, you choose whichever word you want to use, then what you need is the body to die. The body has to completely decompose. Okay, so let's keep going. He says, with regard to the human being is made up of two parts, correct? A body and a soul, right? And we discussed that we see when a baby is born, what functions most?
The body.
The body. Right? The body is the one that sort of dictates what will happen. And as the intellect gets more and more developed through use and maturity, then we see that it has the ability to actually control the body's natural desires. Because the body desires certain things. Yes, please.
Is it possible to train the body at a young age to be able to work better with the neshama when?
Of course, that's the whole point of education. That's why we send kids in a very young age to school, because we try to educate them of how to make the right decisions and how to think of the world and how to look at the world, and we hope through Torah education that we can inculcate a more spiritual perspective and a way that the child will continue to reach higher and higher levels of perfection than if we didn't train them.
So the secular world, the way they do things, kind of diminish that acceptance of the soul?
Of course, by definition. If you ask my son, like, what do you want to do? Do you want to read Gemara, or you want to play, downstairs? Right? Those are his options. If a kid, let's say in America, growing up in a secular household, is like, do you want to play the Wii? Do you want to play a video game, or you want to watch TV? Like, Gemara doesn't even if you told them, would you like to read Gemara? Like, what is it? Oh, it's an ancient text written in Aramaic, which does a lot of this. It's like, no, dude, I want to watch TV. It doesn't happen. Education is very, very important in terms of setting what kids value. The fact that we have a medium in Western culture of movies and televisions, it affects the ability of children to use their imagination than what it used to be. Is when you read a book and you imagine, people always, when they read a book and then they see the movie, they always say, many people say, the book was better than the movie.
It truly was.
Why?
Because there's so much more detail.
And not only that, it's your imagination.
Exactly.
It's you are the one that is creating this world in your mind. Lord of the Rings, whatever, Harry Potter, whatever, you name it. Once the movie comes out and you compare it to what the book is, it's like, So, yeah, we have a mode of telling stories that we use movies, but a lot of other people are making decisions for you of how to tell the story.
Can your education at a young age be so detrimental that the soul and the body will never align?
No, I hope not. I pray not. And the whole movement of the Baal Tshuva movement shows that it's not like that. So no matter how deep a person is engrossed in physical pleasures, he can get out. But the getting out is, the deeper he is, the more difficult it's going to be to get out. In most cases. Okay? So he says that really, במציאות החומר ועצמותו נמצא האחירות והחושך בטבע. That is, in the existence of matter and the essence of matter, there is sort of darkness and decrepity, which is an aspect of nature. And he says the more people connect to God through the neshama, even though the neshama itself is something that's very pure and comes from God, when the soul enters the body, it says that we see that the soul's nature gets affected. Because it's sort of placed in not her own environment. The neshama is not placed in her own natural environment, but an environment that is antithetical to her. Exact opposite. And what happens? She cannot get out. The soul, neshama is feminine. She can't get out, the neshama. She is, in some way, the image that is given is that the neshama is imprisoned in the body. It wants to move up, and the body wants to pull it back down. And that's how it is. And the only way to get out is if it uses its force and forces herself and lifts the body with her. The neshama has the ability to lift the body completely. You know, have you ever seen those people that are in a car accident, God forbid, and they're able to lift like a car, right? And it's like, how do they do that? It's almost, that's how the neshama could take your body and just lift it and move it from, this place, can just lift it right up. Yeah. Bidyuk. Okay. But we have to remember, says the Ramchal, that the reason the situation is as it is with regard to the soul and the body is because of the decree of God. God decreed that the soul will be placed in an unnatural situation, that the human body is made and the soul and the body is put together, and they only get separated during death. And then in Tchias HaMeitim, when there is the resurrection of the dead, the soul returns back to the body. Okay, so although they're separate, but they're going to be put together again. Okay. So he says the thing, this is a very important point. A human being in this world is considered to be in one state, which is what? That the matter has a lot of power over him. And it appears that the human being is found under great darkness. And he is very far from where he should be in order to connect to Hashem. And so he has to do hishtadlus. What's hishtadlut? He has to work. He has to exert himself in order to strengthen his neshama against his material aspect, his body, and to ameliorate his condition, make his condition better. And that's how we can do it. So although it sounds like the neshama is put in an impossible position, it's not impossible. The soul has the ability to lift the body and go and perfect itself. But it takes effort. It takes exertion. It takes work. It's not something that is natural. Okay? Yeah.
Ishtadlut is a reference to the bodies? The body?
No, the soul needs to do ishtadlut in order to uplift the body. For example, I'll give you an example. Is it cold in the morning in your bed?
In the bed?
In the bed. In the bed it's nice and warm, isn't it?
Yeah.
You wake up in the morning, there's minyan, people expect you to be here, right? But the body says, are you crazy? It's so cold outside. Just stay under the blanket. And what do you have to do? You have to say, I'm getting up. I'm doing it. And sometimes you're going to say, I'm doing it, and you're not moving. The body's not moving. You're like, come on, I got to do this. And the body's like, I'm not doing it. I'm staying.
Strengthen yourself like a lion.
Yes, that's the idea. That's the idea. You have to exert yourself like a lion and get up. And just roar up. Is it cold? Yes.
That's pretty much what happens.
Right?
You gotta go,
Right. You put your feet without the socks on the floor, and it's like, whoa.
It's funny because lions are naturally lazy.
But when they want to get up, you can tell that they just got up.
It's actually really funny. There's this like one warm spot right next to the closet near my bed. It's hilarious. It's like this one warm spot that's always warm.
Someone's got to tell your roommate what the bathroom is.
That's funny. If it wasn't sad. It says, "Hamakom asher tocho." A human being is put in the physical world, and the physical world is material and dark, and all the things that are around us are also material, and that we are constantly use the material world. It's all around us. Everything. Because we need to eat, we need to drink, the body needs to rest, you need to take a shower. All the things, this is just a reference for those who didn't shower. You need to take a shower. It's good advice.
How often?
How often?
Shabbos. Before Shabbos.
Once a month.
When you're in yeshiva.
I'll tell you.
It's a shower.
So what's a shower? We're gonna have to have a punch card. Like you have to. You want to get into Seder, you have to show that the punch card of the shower is. And you have. If you go to the mikveh, you have to shower before the mikveh. Going into the mikveh doesn't count as a shower.
Does the shower count as a mikveh?
No, it could in certain circumstances, but you don't need to worry about that now. And he says, and a person must have money. You can't live in this world without any money. Right? What do you need money for?
Eating, drinking, and other essential bodily functions.
To live. Really? What do you need? Charity?
Shelter.
You need shelter, you need food, you need clothing, all of that. Someone's got to give it to you. Which means even if you are living on someone else's money, someone has made the money, right? Right? If you're not paying for it, there's not, I used to work with a guy that taught me a very, very important lesson, Cyrus. No such thing as a free lunch. If you're eating for free, it means somebody else paid for it. You just don't know who paid for it. But just because you're not paying for it, it doesn't mean it's free. Do you agree? Nothing's free. Even this class is not free. It's brought to you by the people who support the yeshiva. Right? There are people who donate hard-earned money for us to be able to educate you and for you to be able to learn here. Right?
Hashem is free.
Hashem is free? You think about it. What?
No.
The currency of Hashem is Torah. It's not money.
Fine. Fine.
What about sunshine?
What about it? Is it?
Depends where you live.
Because my other example wasn't.
Store it in a solar panel.
So he says, ונמצא שבין מצד גופו של האדם, בין מצד עולמו, בין מצד עסקו, הוא טבוע בחומר. Says that there are three spheres of our existence that revolve around matter, around materialism. The first one is our body, right? That is everything around our world. Everything is material. The table, the chairs, everything. I always, in the morning, when I put on my tefillin and my talis and I have to go to shul, and I have to adjust my glasses and my yarmulke is like this, and I was like, if I could pray so much better if I didn't have a body. Like if you just had a neshama, the levels of kedusha that you could reach are so high. right? But the body it's a problem. This doesn't fit, that doesn't fit. All of a sudden you have an itch. You have to sneeze, you have to, all these things, right? You have to clean your nose. Now everybody's, all those things, if you think about it, impede your ability to connect to God perfectly. But it is through the body that we connect to God. Because you have to put on tefillin, right? So to put on tefillin, can you put tefillin if you don't have a body? You could contemplate the concept of tefillin, but that's not the same. It's not the same. And we have an aspect that we have to earn a living, and that involves being engrossed in the physical world. And we have to understand that. You have to be aware. He's not saying that the physical world is bad and it's horrible. And no. He's saying this is how God created the human experience. He put a soul in a body and put the body around in reality that is physical. And in order for the soul to accomplish what it needs to do, it needs to rise above that. Is it easy to do? No. Is it possible? Absolutely possible. Can every Jew do it? Yes. Every human being is capable of doing this. No matter what. The question is, do you make the decision? Mind over matter, just like you said. Who runs the world? Is it who runs your body? Is it your body or your soul? Who's the boss? Who is the boss?
So the neshama make the decisions?
The neshama could allow the body to make the decisions and say, do it whatever you want. By not interfering.
I think a nice analogy would be your thoughts and actions.
Louder.
Your thoughts and actions. So
Yeah.
if you could use it as an analogy, let's say your soul is like your thoughts, and your actions is like your body. And we only judge people by their actions. We don't know what people are thinking. We don't condemn people for thinking anything. We judge them for what they do. In the same way, I think your life is made up of what your body does. Because ultimately the body is the vehicle that exhibits who you are.
Correct. If you have a thought of doing a mitzvah, yet you don't do it, God counts it as if you did the mitzvah.
Really?
Yes. That's the mercifulness of God. Yes.
There's free lunch. There you
That's
go.
the same thing with the Aveira.
Free lunch.
But if you think of sinning,
I just thought of an
But
awesome
don't do
mitzvah.
it.
That's it. I guess I'm
did you
not
think of doing it?
Yeah.
And did you do it?
No.
Why not?
Because I looked up the reward. Why should I do it?
No. The idea is that God counts if you couldn't do the mitzvah. If there was something that was blocking you from doing the mitzvah. Not that if you sit in bed and you know what? I'm going to give $2 million tzedakah. I just did. That's not it. But if you said, I'm giving tzedakah, I'm giving $100 tzedakah, okay? And then as soon as I'm going to give it, and some guy comes with a gun and says, give me your wallet. And takes your wallet, and now you can't give the tzedakah because your wallet was stolen. So God says, no. Even though you had the thought and you can't carry it out, you are anus. A situation occurred that you can't perform the mitzvah. I will give you credit as if you did it. But if you are just sitting there at home saying, oh, it's Shabbos. Yeah, it'd be cool keeping Shabbos. I'll make Kiddush. Okay, back to reality. That you don't get credit for doing Kiddush on Shabbos.
I've kept a lot of those Shabbos.
So
Yes, Ben.
basically, you're saying that you have to have the intent that you're going to actually do it.
You have to have the intent, and there has to be something that is causing you not being able to fulfill
Yeah.
the intent that you have.
Yeah, Sahara.
Oh, that's a good question. If that you would be considered anus or not.
Yeah.
That's a very
It's like, I
that
want to do it, I just can't.
depends on what can't. What does that mean that you really can't? And even if you would say, if Hashem said you really couldn't, you're like, you're right, I could. But, so you could. Good, go to hell. I'm kidding. Take the elevator down. Tell him to give you the diamond treatment.
Well, the difference, he just follows internal, and you're talking about external things like
No, but he's saying that the Yetzer Hara got him not to do it. Don't do the mitzvah. Don't. But he wants to do the
It might
mitzvah.
not be internal. Someone distracted you. Someone said, "Oh, can't do this," and didn't want to.
Well, that's external.
It could be both.
Yeah, it could
For
be.
whatever reason, something.
Okay, weiter. Let's keep going. Unless you have a good question.
I heard there was a guy who used to fantasize about mitzvot that were impossible. Like he would say, if I was 100 feet tall, I'd do this, and like it's just not possible. But he'd get credit for it, or not?
I don't know. It's a good question. Like, for example, if you thought of a mitzvah of being a Kohen Gadol,
Yeah.
but you're not a Kohen, does that mean that you get credit for being a Kohen Gadol? I don't know.
Oh,
But
so awesome.
But I could tell you, if you want to get credit for the mitzvahs of a Kohen Gadol, learn the mitzvahs of Kohen Gadol, and then you get credit as if you did it. That is, learn the mitzvah. Right? Not you can't. There are lots of mitzvahs that you're not going to be able to perform because of whatever reason. For example, there's a concept. There's a mitzvah of pidyon haben, right? Which is what? When you have a firstborn son, then you have to take him to a Kohen and then redeem him. But what if you have a daughter? So does that mean you can't do pidyon haben? Does that mean you're not a good Jew? No, it has nothing to do with you. So learn the halachas of pidyon haben. You get the credit and you move on. Right? It says that according to the Arizal, that when you get to the next world, the neshama gets to wear this special body, that for every mitzvah that you didn't fulfill, the body has a hole where that mitzvah is performed. Yeah? But everybody knows when you walk around, like, he didn't do that mitzvah, or he went over that aveira. Oh, everybody would know.
All true, you're gonna have your own colony.
It's like a leper.
But you might be surprised that you get up there and you think of big people and they're like, oh, you didn't. But you can do tshuva. And tshuva repairs that.
It's like putting fire on all your holes, basically.
Video? Okay, next. He says, "Ulam me'omek atzat chokhmato," from the depth of God's wisdom. Listen to this.
His wisdom?
God's wisdom, yes. Chokhmato is His wisdom.
Struggling with the Hebrew, that's why I'm trying to like.
Don't struggle with it. Just let it hit you.
Okay.
So it says the following. Haya lesader advarim be'ofen. It should have been, he says, maybe it should be as follows. That when a man is still engrossed in matter by necessity, he could reach a level of perfection and to lift himself up to purification and to a higher degree. To a higher degree. That's what he says. Adraba. And he says, really, what happens is the lower a person gets, the higher he reaches. Why? Because he turns darkness into light. That is, what's the purpose of the soul entering the body? Is to bring the body, to elevate the body. That is, you go down, the deeper you go, it means the more light you're bringing to the lower and lower levels of the material world. Because you have the ability, even at the lowest levels, to turn on the light. You don't like that?
Use the ability.
What?
Use the ability.
We have the ability. The fact that you don't use it, it doesn't mean that you don't have the ability.
That's you mean going down to go up.
Correct. That's exactly what he says. A person could turn the darkness into light and and that's what he says. So he says, therefore, there are boundaries and orders for human beings in the way that he should utilize the physical world. So God created boundaries for us and rules how to use the physical world. And as long as we use use the physical world within the boundaries of Hashem, we are extending light into darkness. Yet if we go beyond the boundaries, we are essentially extinguishing the light slowly and slowly, one candle at a time. That means it's the truth. I don't know if it's true, but I want to say that. Get it? Says the purpose is that these boundaries were exactly based on the purpose that God commanded them. That you have to work within those boundaries to reach your perfection. And that's how it works. Okay? And he says, what are these boundaries and orders? Do you know? What are we talking about?
Mitzvahs,
right. Halacha. There are ways that if you want to eat, there are mitzvahs, you make certain blessings, then things that you're allowed to eat, then actually you're extending light into darkness. But if you eat things that God said you shouldn't eat, you are extinguishing light and increasing the darkness. That's how it works. That's how it works. Okay? And then he says something very interesting. He says, and if there was no decree for a human being to die, if we lived forever, he says, then what would happen is that the soul could potentially be purified through the soul. Right? The soul would get stronger and stronger, and the body would get weaker and weaker, such that it would be purified completely, and they would both connect to God. But he says God decreed that should not happen at once. That rather that the soul should strengthen itself, and that the body would potentially be purified, but not actually. Okay? And that's what he says. Why? Because remember we said the reward happens when the soul is separate from the body. So you'd have to have a time where the body and the soul separate. So he says all these boundaries that we talked about, these are the mitzvot aseh, mitzvot lo taseh, the prescriptive commandments and the prohibitive commandments. Prescriptive means that God is prescribing certain behaviors. And prohibitive means that God doesn't want you to do certain things. And he says in each one of those are really a way for a human being to acquire the true levels of perfection, and where he's removing the darkness and the whatever moral lackings that he has. Okay? The key that the Ramchal wants us to understand is that the mitzvot are directly related to the way we are created. A lot of times when you learn the mitzvahs, they sound very bizarre. Like, what does this have to do with anything? Why does God care what I eat? Why does God care if I, cut a cow's neck this way or this way? Like, why does it matter? The Ramchal is saying that because all of the mitzvot are based on the true existence or the essence of the human being, and in order to get him to perfect himself. That is, the Torah is the owner manual of how to use this machine called a human being. And this machine works in very, very specific ways. It could do tremendous amount of destruction in the world. And just look at past human history. It can do enormous damage, not only to the environment, not only to humankind, but even to creation itself. Animal world, plant world, you name it. So we see that without some boundaries, without these mitzvot, this machine can wreak havoc in creation. It is only these mitzvot that maintain the perfect balance of what the body needs and what the soul needs, and allows the human being to reach his full potential. to really actualize those powers, those abilities, those blessings that Hashem gave us. That's the idea of the mitzvot, says the Ramchal. Okay? Question? So what's the purpose of the mitzvahs according to the Ramchal? Is it for God's benefit or our benefit?
Our benefit.
Absolutely our benefit. So when you perform a mitzvah, who are you doing a favor to? To God? Cyrus, to God? To you. Shabbos is for you. Davening is for you. What? Demeter, what? Did I hear something?
No, it is really for you.
It's for you. The day itself, but you doing it is. If you didn't keep Shabbos, does it affect him?
You can't do anything possible to affect God.
So he says now, the purpose of serving God is that a person should always turn towards his Creator. And that he needs to know and understand that he wasn't created, or he was created for the sole purpose of connecting to his Creator. And he wasn't put in this world for any reason except for being able to control his yetzer and to actually control himself to the level of recognizing his intellect and connect to his Creator. That is it. That's the reason why we're here. We're not here to enjoy this physical world. We enjoy this physical world because it's a mitzvah that God commanded us. That is the way that we connect to God, is through the physical world. God created beautiful grapes that we can make amazing wine, right? And we can make a bracha on the wine, and with that we can connect to God. So if you're not a wine person, it's fine, neither am I. Coke. Right? A cold bottle of Coca-Cola is amazing stuff. Right? It just does the body so much good that the body will say, fine, I'll give you can learn Gemara for 2 more hours. Whatever. I'll leave you alone. Right? Right? Like the body, if you give it what it needs, it'll leave you alone to do what it wants. Oh, good, this is good. And then you can keep learning. Right? You're hungry, you get a bowl of cholent. The body's like, oh, this is good. And then the body says, wait. Let's go take a nap. Let's go take a nap. So what do?
Take a nap.
You say the following. You say, Hashem, I'm going to take a nap to serve you. This nap is on Shabbos. It's for you. And with this nap, I'll be able to serve you better. And then your nap is actually you're serving God every second that you're sleeping. Think about that. Like mitzvah point. Ding, 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 ding. You took a nap. Right? The other guy laying in the next bed next to you, taking the same nap, is not getting credit. Because there was no kavanah here.
What about the guy sitting next to you studying Talmud?
You can't count of how much he's getting. But, okay? Okay?
After the chillin', and while I'm tired and want to take a nap.
Okay?
Oh.
All right. See? We're gonna make Yishai the mashgiach for the program. We're gonna, give him a whip. Go get him. Go get him, Yishai. Go get him. All right, let's stop here. We'll continue tomorrow, Bezat Hashem.